The famous expression, "home is where the heart is," couldn't be more true. Similar variations of this saying have been in use since ancient times. The phrase means that no matter who you are with or where you are in the world, your home will always have your deepest affection and emotional pull. It's the place where you have a foundation, even if it's unconventional. The place we live is an opportunity to create and finesse how we live our lives. And once you see these next people's ideas of what a home means to them, you might never look at your pad the same. From weird and wacky to fun and fancy, people laughed at their house until they went inside. Dan Price's underground home. Many people shun the materialistic lifestyle, and Dan Price is one of them. He has even caretaken a mansion before, so he even has some experience with luxury. In 1990, he found a meadow in Joseph, Oregon, and was able to rent it from the owners for only $100 a year. But he also had to clear down trees and repair fences, which still seems like a pretty cheap living. He's gone through many different little tents, huts, and even a small cabin that was unfortunately robbed. After that, he decided to make this underground hobbit home, which he currently resides in. It does look like it's from a film set, which some people may laugh at or fall in love with the creative idea. Once you crawl through the small door into the main room, it becomes clear this place is actually lived in. Food, clothes, and a heater all fit inside, as well with many trinkets, art, and other supplies. There is an odd custom hole that he has to crawl through to get to the bedroom, which has an escape hatch because safety is always important. Other important things he's built are a composting toilet, a propane-powered shower, and even a sauna. Not very common to see a sauna in the woods, that's for sure. He gets all the water close by from the river. This is the only way Dan could live like this because the river is essential to his way of life. Otherwise, he would have to live a nomad life. Fasten your seatbelts because it's time for today's sweet topic. If this is the entrance to a home, we're going to have a problem. How does one safely get in? By falling in? This gives new meaning to the phrase dropping by. In the United States, most houses need remodeling and improvement because around 80% of them are at least 20 years old. More than 50% of houses in the US were built before 1980. Sometimes we just need an upgrade and even some downsizing. But clearly, this isn't your typical homeowner. This is giving us stylish bunker vibes, isn't it? The clues, like the jaunty blue bowler hat and the cherub artwork, might suggest the person living here wanted more than a home underground. There's nothing like a personal touch, right? This bunker could be blinged out. With the space becoming even more of a commodity because of ever-expanding populations and our changing climate, we might all have to reconsider what a home looks like. Why not build underground? If you were in a position to build a bunker, what would it look like for you? What sort of amenities would you need to live in a place without windows or a backyard? In the comments below, tell us everything. Just use the hashtag #SweetTopic when you do. Family wraps home and greenhouse. This house couldn't be more eco-friendly as technology keeps improving for these kinds of projects that could be the future of home building. The Norwegian family built this fully sustainable house in the Arctic Circle, and it can deal with any challenge in the environment. Pretty impressive. All of the materials used for this are natural. It was built with cob, which is cheap, and with barely any carbon footprint, it was a no-brainer to use. The family wanted it to be a solar dome that has 360 glass panels with double doors and 11 windows. The glass dome helps it act as a greenhouse and can carry plenty of heat inside for the winter. It has many solar panels, so energy cost is very low and has next to no impact on the environment. Surprisingly, this only cost $363,000 to build, but if you want neighbors, maybe this wouldn't be the best purchase. From the outside, it seems like a science lab. After you see inside, your opinion might change because of the beautiful interior. The area is great if you love nature with many great hiking spots and views. You can even see the northern lights regularly because of its location. This unique home has many details that make it more impressive than first perceived. Mr. Tiger's Cave House. If Batman can have a fancy cave, so can you. Well, if you're as talented as this guy or can afford to hire this talent, it could be done. Obviously, from the outside, it does not look to impress, as it's a cave with a door and a window. But once you know what went into making this, it might change your mind about a cave home. A man who calls himself Mr. Tiger built this all by himself. His background in construction definitely made this easier, but even with that experience, This would be extremely hard. All his sawing, hammering, and drilling made enough room for a bed, computer, and storage space. He even installed electricity and got running water with a garden as well as an outdoor kitchen. All of the living essentials. Kid builds his own cave. When most people get into an argument with their parents, they want to rebel in some sort of way, but making a cave isn't what comes to mind. When Andre Canto was 14, he ended up taking his grandfather's pickaxe and started to hit the ground over and over because of a fight with his parents. After he did this for a while, it became addicting, and it became his goal to create a space for himself to wind down. It also gave him tons of time to clear his mind, as this task took around 6 years. He did end up using a pneumatic drill because a pickaxe can only go so far. He spent around 14 hours a week on this project, and the biggest obstacles were massive rocks that wouldn't budge. Eventually, it got so deep he needed a pulley system to get rock outside. His friends started to help him, and it advanced enough to have 2 rooms, a heating system, as well as Wi-Fi with a music station. The biggest problems are when it rains heavily, as it floods, rendering it uninhabitable, and bugs seem to be rampant at times. Still, can't complain considering this only took 50 rocks to build. The House on the Rock. When you hear House on the Rock, it sounds like an idea that can't work. It seems absurd, but that was the goal for Alex Jordan. He saw a 60-foot chimney of rock in Wyoming Valley and instantly wanted to build a house on the sandstone formation called Deer Shelter Rock. This was during the 1940s, and once he had a foundation, his project was getting more attention. It made people want to see the architecture wonder that was making waves. Since he wanted to keep working on it, he needed funds, so he was asking for 50 cents for tours of his home, and it was time to upgrade this wonder. Now it has 14 rooms and many fascinating things to see. It has the world's largest carousel with 269 carousel animals, 182 lanterns, more than 20,000 lights, and hundreds of mannequin angels hanging around it. Jordan, however, did not want his creation to turn into a museum. He expected it to be much more than that, and in its current state, it's more of a look into the psyche of this unique dreamer and his vision. The too-high tea house. Most kids dream of having a treehouse, but once you reach a certain age, it seems foolish or not feasible. But Terunobu Fujimori made that a reality at the age of 65. This tree-bound tea house sits atop 2 chestnut trees, and the only way up is by ladder. Of course, since this is not America, you must take off your shoes halfway up. You wouldn't want to ruin this beautiful treehouse with dirty shoes. The view from this place overviews Fujimori's hometown, so this is a very personal project for him. The house is 20 feet in the air and is made from bamboo, plaster, and all natural materials, of course. This would definitely be a dream place to visit as a kid. Well, even as an adult, this would be a cool experience. COOBER PEDY underground houses. Australia is known for its oppressive heat and beautiful outback with dangerous animals. Its lack of survivability for humans is well known, but sometimes communities like COOBER PEDY beat the odds. This town is unique for many reasons, one of which is because around 80% of locals live inside the sandstone. Many of these homes are old mine shafts turned into livable conditions. With it being a big mining town, these are very common and most newcomers live in them. It rains very little, and in the summer it can reach 104 degrees Fahrenheit, so water is scarce and vegetation is even rarer. Opal mines are vast here, and the riches and the reason so many people live in such a climate. It's also 8 hours away from the nearest city, so living here is no easy task. It's become a tourist attraction because of the many underground activities. Its name COOBER PEDY comes from Kapu Piti, an Aboriginal term that means the white man's hole. The Aboriginal people were here from the start. They came up with the perfect name as they saw the town become the underground town it has become. La Palais Ideal. This place looks like an articulate art piece, but is much more than that and has a rich history. Ferdinand Cheval was a French postman who spent 33 years creating this palace from 1879 to 1912. At age 76, he officially considered his work complete. This architecture looks very professional, but he had no formal training in engineering, masonry, or art, and it remains in great condition. You can visit this unique palace, climb the fantastic staircases, and even check out the labyrinth with the many sculpted turrets, mythical animals, forms of nature, religious and historical references which are very textured as most of the structure is. Ferdinand wanted to be buried here, but the French authorities denied his request. Because of this, he made his own cemetery at the age of 80. This work of art was declared as a cultural landmark in 1969, and he was put on a French postage stamp for his contribution to French history. The Sky Garden House. The future of houses keeps getting greener and greener, so much so that it's hard to see anything else. This luxurious house looks like it's inside a forest. It was made to feel like each story was like sitting in a garden with light flickering through a pool. One of the functions of this house is to funnel the sea breeze through the center of the building, with the central light and stairwell helping to achieve this. The architect designed this place in Singapore because of how it made it actually cool the house down more easily, and it's not an eyesore to look at with its gorgeous green, blue, and brown architecture, which relates to the theme of nature. It was built in 2010 and has 4 bedrooms with 5 bathrooms, as well as a massive pool that you can see from the inside of the house, and has a beautiful waterfront view, if that wasn't enough for you. The Australian Pole House. This next house looks like it belongs to a Bond villain who's on a budget, but it does have an amazing view of the ocean. This place was built by Frank Dixon in 1978 and was recently renovated for tourists or someone looking for a unique experience. It is suspended 40 meters above FAIRHAVEN Beach in Australia and is one of the most photographed homes in the entire country. With its new renovation, they added many features that attract people to rent it, like water falling from the walls that lights up, and when the temperature rises, the color of water changes to purple, then eventually red. Before it was renovated, harsh winds and ocean spray deteriorated the house, and it was transformed into what it looks like today. It still looks like as it did 40 years ago, but now it's more accommodating. Goose Creek Tower. This tower is known by the locals as the Dr. Seuss house, which is pretty self-explanatory, but the creator doesn't actually call it that, sadly. Its actual name is the Goose Creek Tower, and it's found in Willow, Alaska. This structure is 185 feet tall and looks like many houses stacked on top of each other, and stands out like a sore thumb in the wilderness. The view looks incredible, and the reason it isn't taller is that the federal airspace doesn't allow for something higher than 200 feet. From the top, it can get a great view of the northern lights, and you can see it up to 300 miles. If you ever visit Alaska, hopefully you could check this out. Philip Widener has been working on this since the 90s, and the structure still needs the interior to be finished. He plans to make the first few floors habitable for his family. Since it isn't entirely finished, he won't allow tourists just yet, but will consider it once it's complete. WOZOCO Floating Apartments. At first glance, this building looks impossible, but then you notice it's attached to another building. So it's basically like a parasite sticking to the host. WOZOCO's apartments for the elderly had to be innovative, as the Netherlands' situation of larger population density and environmental issues, this was the perfect design. This social housing project was the lowest building cost in Amsterdam and now has tourists visit these hanging houses ever since it was completed. It can house up to 100 people and has many windows and balconies that make it look like an art piece. When the idea for this was being pitched, it was laughed off as a joke, but as the architects thought about this more, it became a legit proposal and finished construction in 1997. If you could have a floating apartment anywhere in the world, where would you put it? Let us know in the comments. Amazing Minister's Treehouse. If someone told you the world's largest treehouse was built because a minister had a vision, would you believe them? Well, they would, in fact, be telling the truth. In 1993, Horace Burgess, a local minister in Crossville, Tennessee, was praying, and God told him, if you build a treehouse, I'll see that you never run out of material. This treehouse was 97 feet tall and is also a church that relies on 6 other oak trees for support. The minister has improved it for an entire 14 years and spent around $12,000 on it while never running out of material. There are 80 rooms and it's 5 stories high with a bell tower at the top that chimes daily. This unique tree church has attracted many tourists, and Burgess has even officiated 23 weddings. Sadly, its fame came with issues, like all of the married couples ended up divorcing, and it eventually had to close down because of fire code regulations. The final nail in the coffin happened in 2019 as the whole structure was burned down in 15 minutes and nothing was saved. It seems like this place was cursed, or maybe just wasn't a good idea. Kid builds amazing tiny house. Not many 13-year-olds can say they built a house with their own money. Well, not many people can say that at all. Luke did just that. He started by building a minimalist house in his backyard. For the task, he did odd jobs for his neighbors and used materials from his grandmother's house and bought the rest. He knew an electrician who taught him how to do basic wiring and learned how to lay carpet as well. By 13, this kid had learned so many useful skills that many people don't know their entire life. This is one motivated and driven boy. The inside is more advanced than you think, with even a flip-down table and a wall-mounted TV. It's wired for electricity but doesn't have plumbing, so he only uses it to study and sleep on occasion. Also, he shows it off to his friends as his accomplishment is very impressive. Luke did get some help from his dad to build some of it, and his mother helped furnish the inside. He's preparing for the future when he can build a nicer place for himself full-time. What were you creating at the age of 14? Let us know in the comments. The hidden hay bale castle. In England, seeing massive hay bales is a common thing, so you would never expect an entire house to be built inside of one. This is exactly what Robert Fiddler of Salfords did to make his dream home that, once revealed, was ordered to be demolished. The obvious reason he has to demolish this amazing castle home is that he didn't go through the legal route and opted to risk it all. It took 4 years to build and had 4 bedrooms, complete with ramparts, turrets, and a cannon. His family even lived in it for a while. Robert did not want to go down without a fight and has been fighting this in court for almost 9 years. Who wouldn't fight it? And who wouldn't fight it, especially since the house is worth around $1 million. Unfortunately, in 2016, he lost the battle and had to demolish it. Robert said now he has nowhere to live and has even submitted a new planning application. Can you imagine rebuilding a house after demolishing one you put blood, sweat, and tears into? Many of these houses were different than they seemed and had interesting backstories, and a reminder to never judge a book by its cover. What would your dream house look like? Where would it be? You can let us know in the comment section below. And don't forget to give us a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this video.